Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Let's go. Okay, and I'm going to try and play. Hey, good morning. Grace to you, peace to you, welcome to you. I think I'm breathing too much. All right. Yeah, hold your breath, Ken. So, again, good morning and welcome to you. I call your attention to some announcements. First of all, we want to lift up the congregational meeting, which will be next Sunday here in this space. You can also join us by way of Zoom. And all those links will be in the worship email that goes out on Sunday morning. And then also, if you have a celebration or a prayer concern, you want to write it on a card, please feel free to do that and then hold it up. I'll come get it so we can share it with everybody. Everyone gets to be a part of that. Also, in the chat in Zoom, Karen will put my phone number so you can text me your prayer concern or your celebration, and I'll be watching my phone, monitoring my phone in that regard. I actually had about 4 of those happen at the first service. I'll share those with you, and it's a way for us to be connected, and we are glad to do so. So again, welcome to those that are here in person, those that are joining us by way of YouTube Live, and those of you who are joining us by way of Zoom. Hey, hello everybody on Zoom. I'm waving at you. Can you wave back? And everybody in the congregation wave at our Zoomers and wave back. Okay, very good. It's good for us to be together, and we're always trying to find new ways to do that and make those connections. Also, then, please check Rock the Week for any of the things that you have questions about, or call the office regarding what we're doing for the rest of June, what we're doing in July, and what we'll be doing post-Sabbath in August. In July, I do want to say that I really appreciate board members stepping up and willing to lead devotions on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And so that's another way for all of us to stay connected during July Sabbath. And so thank you, board members, for that. All right, Karen, are you with us here? She's waving, okay. And you have an introduction about what we're doing this month, or rather this Sunday, this morning? I guess maybe we're looking for some sound here. You are talking, but we're not hearing you.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, wait a minute. We heard you there. A little more volume.
Okay, hello everyone.
Okay.
Yes, I have an introduction about Pride. The sanctuary is decorated with some Pride colors. I was at the mall yesterday, and there was rainbow washing everywhere. So it's Pride Month, and we're talking about Sabbath. So I said, hey, I'd like to do some Pride liturgy on Sunday. And Ken said, well, how is that connected to Sabbath? If you can connect it with Sabbath, you can do it. And I said, I'll get back to you. I know that. Oh, the live stream says I'm on the wrong line. I'm looking. Hold on. How about now? You hear me better now?
Yes. What'd you do? What was the magic button?
Well, I just have several microphone options because I have the omnidirectional mic here in the multipurpose room, and then the webcam mic, and then my laptop mic. So I just picked the wrong one. So we're talking about Sabbath and Pride, and so here's how I connect those. As we're talking about Sabbath, we can sometimes fall into the trap of thinking about Sabbath in sort of overly warm, fuzzy, almost woo-woo. That's what Lois calls it, woo-woo. And that's fine as long as we don't stay there. Because as we're talking about rest and renewal, those things, that learning and growth that we want folks to have happen in their lives, it requires safety. It requires safe environments and calm minds. We know that it's hard to meditate in a foxhole, right? If you're in danger, it's hard to think spiritually. And so we can't talk about Sabbath and about the human need for rest without talking about justice. June is Pride Month. Next week is Juneteenth. We just marked the anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. We marked 5 years this weekend since the Pulse shooting in Orlando. And so it's good that we're preparing for rest. That's awesome. But we also know that not every person in our culture has access to safe places for that kind of rest and renewal. So we know that we have hard things to face, that Black transgender women are disproportionately victims of violence in our culture. 28 trans murders in 2021, and the year not even half spent. 20 to 40% of homeless youth are homeless because of family rejection. So we want for our LGBTQ siblings the same kind of rest and ease that we want for ourselves. Last week, Ken talked about Sabbath as being different from vacation. And I want to push us a little bit further that Sabbath, unconnected, unconcerned with justice, is just vacation, and worse, it's vacation with an overlay of navel gazing and hypocrisy. And I know that's not who we are. The second thing I'll share about our morning is that some language in our liturgy, particularly in the sending forth, might feel like too much for you. So just lean in, it's okay. Maybe you've already noticed some of that language. So for the call to worship and the sending forth today, we have words from LGBTQ people and people of color from social media. And I think that's really wonderful in this season of being online and in person both, that we look to social media and to other voices to help inform our liturgy. But one thing that I have been pondering these last couple years is this. I'll share my pondering with you. What if the values I profess, what if the things I believe in are really true for me and really true for people who are not like me? And what would happen if I acted on that? What would happen if justice and inclusion and peace and kindness, grace and acceptance, what if we just dialed all that up to 11? What would happen? How would I then read scripture? How would I interact with my faith tradition? And what work, what action would reveal itself to me as my work to do? So what would happen if we let our values radicalize us? What might be set free? So I will leave you with that question today, and ask that you stand if you're comfortably able and join me in the call to worship. Yeah, I know there's a little delay, but it's okay. We're going to be all right. God made day and night, right?
But that is not all we experience. God also paints the skies with sunrises and sunsets.
On the second day of creation, God separated sky from water.
Yet the clouds hold water for us in the sky, and the cycle of condensation, rain, and evaporation refreshes and renews the earth.
And God said, "Let the water beneath the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear."
But this is not the whole story. God's love of diversity can be seen in bogs, marshes, swamp, and fen.
And God made the sun to rule the day, and the moon to rule the night, and the stars.
But that is not all that space contains. God also made asteroids and comets, black holes and nebulae.
So we celebrate and honor the both and of creation all around us, including the variety in the human family.
We worship the God of more, the God of the marsh and the penguin, the clouds, the sunrise, the supernova. We worship the God of the non-binary family. We see you, we love you, we want for you what we want for ourselves: rest, safe space, and ease. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated.
God is still speaking, blessed invitation. God is still speaking, listen and draw near. God is still speaking, see a new creation. God is still speaking, stand and do not fear. Open up your ears to hear. God is still speaking, living good news, strong and clear. Listen and draw near. Through the struggle, grief and pain, God is still speaking. God can raise us up again, stand and do not fear. God is still speaking, blessed invitation. God is still speaking, listen and draw near. God is still speaking, see a new creation. God is still speaking, stand and do not fear. In the bleak and midnight hour, God is still speaking. Sing the word of truth and power, listen and draw near. To a fragile, wounded earth, God is still speaking. God can bring new hope to birth, stand and do not fear. God is still speaking, blessed invitation. God is still speaking. not fear. God is still speaking, see a new creation. God is still speaking, listen and draw near. Through the temptations age and fight, God is still speaking. Hear God's voice of grace and might, listen and draw near. Choose the way that leads to peace, God is still speaking. Through compassion, sweet release, stand and do not fear. God is still speaking, blessed invitation. God is still speaking, listen and draw near. God is still speaking, see a new creation. God is still speaking, stand and do not fear. God is still speaking, stand and do not fear.
Thank you. Indeed, God is still speaking. And so we turn to reading a word about life. It is Mark chapter 2. And last Sunday we visited the idea of Sabbath intention. What is our intention? We have a lot of notions about Sabbath. A lot of them are, in fact, culturally given to us, culturally determined, culturally influenced. We remember perhaps growing up observing blue laws that because of the Christian Sabbath to distinguish it from the Jewish Sabbath, and it was a bit anti-Semitic in its way. So we just want to talk about Sabbath and talk about Sabbath in terms of what's our intention to practice Sabbath and what was the intention of creating a Sabbath. And so in a way we're expanding on the notion of the intention of creating a Sabbath with the story from Mark. One Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples were going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain, which is a no-no. I add that. That's not in the text, by the way. Which some people interpret it as reaping and harvesting, which is not allowed on the Sabbath. The Pharisees said to Jesus, "Hey, Jesus, take responsibility for your followers. Look what they are doing, what is not lawful on the Sabbath." And Jesus said to them, "Allow me to school you a little bit. Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need of food? David entered into the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of the presence." That is, they went into the temple and they took the bread off of the altar that was offered to God, which is not lawful for any but the priest. Only the priest are allowed to eat it. But David took it and he gave it to some of his companions. And now my reading of this is that David took what was needed. He didn't loot the temple, okay? He took what was needed for that day. He took the daily bread that was needed. And then Jesus said to them, "The Sabbath was made for humankind, and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." May the Spirit of life and love bless the hearing, the reading, the living of the Word about life. Amen. And so this is a time of stewardship when we think about what it means, what is in our care. What is in our care, and how do we take care of it, or take care of each other? So I want to share with you that this past Friday, Javier Castillo, who is someone that we have been taking care of, trying to help, in various ways. He is the man from Cuba who is seeking legal status now and his work permit, but he broke his foot in the process of working. He came up here to the church, and we have been trying to help him in various ways, along with partners such as in First Church in Phoenix and other individuals in the community. The person who's been kind of the point person has been Arlene Dominguez. She has been a tremendous angel and steward. And I told Javier that he needs to treat her like he would his mother. And by God, he better do it. Well, this past Friday, Javier, for the first time in a couple of months, he was able to go to work. He worked for a landscaper, but the logistics of his work required him to leave from South Phoenix and travel all the way to 75th Avenue and Camelback. If he was to take the bus, he would have to get on the bus at 2:30 in the morning, and then in order to arrive before 5 a.m., or if he took the next bus, he would arrive at 5:18 a.m., and then he would, in fact, be late for work. He is not going to be late for work. Well, someone who was in our care, Yvette Carell, who was here in Sanctuary for a couple of years with her children, now living in the community and working, offered herself to her, and her husband picked him up, took him to his place at work, so he was there by 5 a.m. He has asked for a bicycle so that he could take the bicycle, ride to the bus stop, put the bicycle on, and then go to work. This man wants to work. He has been given the gift of life, and as such, he is a child of God. He has been given the gift of life, and he has breath in his lungs, and we hope that he has growing love in his life. We are acting as stewards of his life, just as he is acting steward for his own life. And on Saturdays, he is volunteering at the Welcome Center where refugees come in and they receive food and clothing and transportation then to take the next leg of their journey to meet with family somewhere in the United States. He's being a good steward. Now, one of the things we need to do, and we are doing, is we're helping him buy a brace, an ankle brace, so that he can, in fact, strengthen and support his foot that was broken. He was so joyful that he texted me on Friday to say, I worked all day and my foot did not swell. Okay? Well, we want to add this added protection. And so we're looking to do that. So he's been a good steward. We have tried to be good stewards. And I thank you for that. I thank you for all that you give and all that you do to be stewards of each other, of this place and our world. Thank you. Does anyone have a thinking of you card or a prayer request? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So if you have a thinking of you card or a prayer request, I'll be happy to, you just hold it up and I'll be happy to come get it. I want to share with you some things that have come in by way of email or way of chat or notes. First of all, Gordon and Joyce Schneider, they text this morning to say that they are in San Diego celebrating their 45th wedding anniversary and wanted you all to know. So again, through technology, we are able to celebrate and stay in touch. We celebrate that. Janice Morrison, in our first service, she is providing great leadership through a program called Naranon, and they meet here on Monday, and their meeting is on tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the other building in the multipurpose room. And as she announces that and makes that invitation, she wants us also to be mindful and prayerful for all families that are struggling with addiction, and we certainly want to do that. Also, for prayers, we want to keep in mind Jim Blakesley. Jim and Jenny Blakesley, they usually come to the 9 o'clock service, and their son Adam comes with them. And Jim took a fall. He broke his hip. He is at Honor Health on Dunlap and will be having surgery either today or tomorrow. So want to be mindful of them and Jenny as she is being a caretaker. Margot Allison, Margot and Becky, Dr. Becky. Margot is having a procedure, and they're wanting to rule out bladder cancer, so we want to be mindful of her. And Daniel Nance, I just heard, is going to be having surgery. Daniel Nance is a young man that that has been tremendous in terms of helping us with sound and helping us with custodial work, but also we were helping him as he was going through treatments for leukemia. And so he is having another surgery, and I don't know the details of that. I'll have to give him a call and find out. And Peter's brother David, he had reconstructive surgery on his skull, and they had that, and now they're redoing it. They're doing it another procedure this next week, and so we'll hope everyone in the family is hoping that the quality of his life will be improved with that procedure. And then we want to continue to pray for Butchie Decker, who is at home in hospice. And so these are all people we want to be mindful of, to care for. And so now also, any cards? Okay. So in addition to the Thinking of You cards, where you can write in the old-fashioned way, which we really like, is you can also have texting of you. So if you think of someone during this time when we are praying and reflecting, and you would like to reach out to them and say, hey, I am thinking of you with this text, please feel free to do that, okay? I can remember when we had a bunch of youth over here and people were complaining that they had their cell phones out. And I said at the time, I said, no, we're not going to fight that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to encourage them, if they're going to have their cell phone out, use it in a way that makes sense for us as a community. So we're picking that up again and saying texting of you. All right. Again, I invite you to take a deep breath. And I invite you to pray. Love cannot remain by itself. For if love is not shared, it has no meaning. Love has to be put into action. And that action is care and kindness and justice and service. It can be as simple as a phone call or a ride to the doctor, or picking up groceries, or marching in Washington, D.C., changing a baby's diaper. Well, whatever form love takes, we ask, Spirit of life and love, that you would bless it. and that it would create in the people that we love and care for, it would create in them deep reassurance of their worth, of their value. And whatever form we are, able or disabled, young or old, or differently abled, rich or poor, remind us. It is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. And so this is our prayer. This is the prayer that we use to send out love to Margot and Janice and families fighting addiction, people facing surgery, procedures, and uncertainty, Daniel Nance and Peter Johnston's brother, to Butchie Decker, who celebrates her life every day. All of these prayers, all of these people, all of these things, we lift up and give thanks. And may your Spirit be poured out on us, that we may live a lifelong sharing of love with others. Amen.
Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary, till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. This one knocked me to the ground, this one brought me to my knees. I should have seen it coming, but it surprised me. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary, till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. In a state of true believers, on streets called us and them, it's gonna take some time till the world feels safe again. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, like my sanctuary, till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. circle of friends, a quiet grove of trees, or between two bookends. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary, till I can carry on, carry on, carry on, carry
Julie and Travis and Forrest, thank you very much. I said it last service, and I'll say it this one, and it's true. You take me to church with that. So thank you. And so we shared this story from the Gospel of Mark, and why do we do that? We hope that there may be some wisdom in it, something for our lives. And I think there is. At least I hope so. Otherwise, why would I do what I do? Right? I think that one of the most helpful insights that shapes my worldview is the idea that morality is not black and white. That morality is not all or nothing. That there are many shades of gray and many moral people who disagree with each other because they're operating at different stages of moral development. In fact, if you think morality is black and white, all or nothing, then you are revealing something about yourself and your own stage of moral development. Now let me summarize a way of looking at morality. Please understand, I'm not saying this is the way it is. I'm just saying here's a way of looking at it, a way of thinking about it. The first level of a stage of moral development is that you obey the rules. You obey the rules and the authority behind the rules because the rules and the authority are absolute. This means our morality is controlled then by these external forces and controlled by self-interest. That we obey the rules because they're absolute and the authority behind the rules are absolute, the way that children would obey parents. And they obey parents because they want to have pleasure or they want to avoid pain. They want to avoid punishment. That's one level of morality. A second level of morality is that you obey the rules because supporting the rules maintains harmony. And it maintains harmony in your relationships and it maintains harmony in the social order, our social order. If we don't enforce the rules and the social contract that we have with each other, then we deteriorate into chaos. That's the second level. The third level of moral development is, yes, obey the rules, but be aware. Be aware of how rules are made and who benefits and who is put at a disadvantage. The first two levels have their point and they have their place. But individuals and society are best when controlled by abstract moral principles and values. Morality is at its best by taking in the perspectives of all the individuals involved and affected, weighing the consequences, applying values and principles to all situations, instead of applying all situations to a set of rules, laws, and social conventions. This third level of moral development, it is not a matter of being a moral person in an immoral world. It is about being a real human being in a world that has built many unreal constructions of morality and unreal constructions of reality. You see, in this story today, Jesus is confronted by religious leaders and their construction of reality. You shall observe the Sabbath and keep it holy. Jesus' response is not in opposition to the commandment, but rather an expansion of its interpretation from the perspective of how to make life good for all human beings. Human beings were not made for the Sabbath observance. The Sabbath observance was made for human beings. For Jesus, God is not a rule maker. For Jesus, God is not a scorekeeper. For Jesus, God is a life and love creator. And we are invited to grow into that same spirituality. As human beings, we can get our heads wrapped around the complexity of this. There is complexity, there's subtlety, and there's nuance to it, but we can do this. We can do this, and we can do it well. And in fact, when we do this, we are at our best. I lived this in a moment when I was arrested in Washington, D.C., trying to raise awareness about the vulnerability of people brought to the United States illegally as children, and otherwise known as our DACA neighbors. I broke the rules. I stood in the Senate building rotunda with 14 other clergy, and I prayed. I refused to leave despite 3 warnings by the Capitol Police who were there to enforce the rules. And please understand, I thank God for the Capitol Police, for their mission, for their bravery. I also thank God for my colleagues, for their mission and their bravery. The police officer that put restraints on my hands and escorted me to the paddy wagon. I was the first to be arrested, the first to be put in the paddy wagon, the last to leave the paddy wagon, and the last to leave jail. I don't know why, but that happened. This officer was kind, and he was respectful. He knew what he was doing, and he knew what we were doing, and on some level embraced it. I was kind and respectful. We both knew that we had jobs to do, and we respected each other's moral code. His mission is to enforce the law so as to maintain our social order. My mission was to raise awareness based on empathy and justice and compassion so as to raise the morality of our shared social order. 2 very different stages of morality at work, 2 different stages of morality in conflict with each other. And such conflict, handled in such a way, is like iron sharpens iron. So do different stages of morality sharpen the wedge blade of history. July Sabbath allows us to build on our Sabbath intention of putting ourselves in right relationship with life. Rest in God before you engage life and your work. If you think you must work first before you have a Sabbath, then you got it backwards and there's no grace in it. Our July Sabbath is enriched when we add the spiritual practice of ceasing. Brother David Stendhal Rast was born in Austria and spent his teenage years under Nazi occupation. He's now 94 years old. He's a Benedictine monk. He is the founder of a network for grateful living, and he is a beloved teacher on spiritual gratitude. While his vocation may seem unrelated to his experience living through a fascist regime, Brother David draws important connections between the two, between his experience living under Nazi fascist occupation and his being a monk. I quote, "To open your eyes and know another day, we cannot take it for granted. In my youth, we could not take it for granted because every night the bombs fell. There are all sorts of reasons why you couldn't see another day. And yet, we did. And that's a wonderful thing." Brother David is an expert on how joy and gratitude take shape in different times. He frames gratitude as a practice, not a feeling. He frames it as a practice rather than a reaction to what is outside of our control. I quote him again. "You cannot be grateful for war in a given situation, or violence, or domestic violence, or sickness. There are many things for which you cannot be grateful," he acknowledges. "But in every moment, you can be grateful." Now, he breaks down this discipline, this practice of gratefulness into 3 steps, what he calls stop, look, go. I'm going to build on that just a minute. Remember the word about life for today? The religious leaders were telling Jesus to make his disciples stop feeding yourselves. And Jesus told them they should cease from judging. They should cease from operating out of a small, vindictive heart and a narrow morality. Jesus invited religious leaders to cease what they were doing and how they were doing it, but encouraged the disciples to continue their reaping, their harvesting, their preparing, and their eating on the Sabbath. And so as we march toward July, add Sabbath ceasing to Sabbath intention. Sabbath ceasing is about stepping away from the movement of the world and the demanding clutter of your mind. Often I invite us to take a deep breath so that we can mindfully step away from the schedules and the deadlines and the rushing around. Each deep breath, think about it. Each deep breath can be a mini Sabbath when we cease from the things that rob us of life and love. The first thing is that we have to stop to practice Sabbath. We have to stop in order to practice Sabbath ceasing. Because otherwise we're not really coming into this present moment at all. And we cannot even appreciate the opportunity that is given to us in this moment. Because we rush by and it rushes by us. Sabbath ceasing without stopping is an invitation. And another way to say it, practice Sabbath ceasing so you can really start living. Amen. I invite you to stand if you're comfortably able and join me in the sending forth. And Karen, are we going to try this? I don't know if it works quite that way, but we can try it. You want to try it? You check your mic again. I'm not hearing you.
How about now?
Okay, you're coming through, but we're not hearing you still very well. Talk to me. All right, I tell you what, I'm going to do my best to read this, okay? All right. Please stand if you're comfortably able. You remember Karen said that there may be language that we have to kind of wonder about. It's going to push us because you cannot have Sabbath rest without justice. You cannot have Sabbath rest without safety. Okay? And this is what we wish for all human beings. Blessed are the sissies. Blessed are the boy dykes. Blessed are the people of color, my beloved kith and kin. Blessed are the trans. Blessed are the high femmes. Blessed are the sex workers. Blessed are the authentic. Blessed are the disidentifiers. Blessed are the gender illusionists. Blessed are the non-normative. Blessed are the gender queers. Blessed are the kinksters. Blessed are the disabled. Blessed are the hot fat girls. Blessed are the weirdo queers. Blessed is the spectrum. Blessed is consent. Blessed is safety. Blessed are times of rest and recreation. Blessed are the beloveds who I didn't describe, I couldn't describe, will learn to describe and respect and love. These are the times.
We are the people.
All of creation is blessed.
And we love all and serve all.
Peace be with you.
And also with you.
Amen. Hi, Michael.